Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions regarding this watch. Today we're discussing something I absolutely adore. For a long time, the Royal Oak Midsize 14790 was the true mainstay of the Royal Oak collection, with the jumbo offered infrequently and in small model runs, whereas the Royal Oak 14790 seemed almost ubiquitous. Not this one. This is known as the military dial, and it's the rare version of the 14790. So in stainless steel, we've got a watch here that's rated at 36 millimeters in diameter, 8.1 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip, if we're just measuring the case, it's 46.3 millimeters, and from end link to end link, if we're measuring these intermediate links, the total rigid distance across the wrist is 49.5 millimeters. These little intermediate links are called the plots. We have here a single trigger, single fold deploy and clasp. You can tell this is old school. We have here a mid-E serial number, so probably late 1990s or very early 2000s. Don't take the diameter of the case at face value. Every Royal Oak on a bracelet wears a size or two larger, and my feeling is that this wears like a 38 or 39 millimeter round watch, so consider it accordingly. Now, it is flat, I'll give it that. Being a monoblock case with a solid case back, it's quite thin, so it'll slide easily under a dress cuff. And if you look down the barrel, I've got a lot of clearance here, so this is a great option if your wrist is 13.5 centimeters circumference, 14, and a 39 isn't even on the radar for you. If you've got that smaller wrist, you want a unisex option, this is a perfect size. It wears bigger than rated, and it looks bigger than rated. It will not look petite or over-refined on your wrist. Beautifully made. You get the same standard of finish that you'd get on a jumbo. You get the polishing, you get the satination, you get the integration of case into lugs, into strap, or in this case, bracelet. And Gerald Genta, the original designer of the first Royal Oak back in 1972, wanted the watch to read first and foremost as jewelry, as a bracelet. And he considered himself a jewelry designer first and foremost. This was a watch, yes, but it was more of a bracelet that happened to include a timepiece. The rounded octagonal bezel was inspired by a vintage diving helmet, and it takes somewhere between 9 and 11 hours to hand finish these bracelets and clasps, and you can see why. The surfaces are small. The break between satin and polish is sharp, and the crevices can be quite intricate, but the way it comes together, it's silky and fluid on the wrist. That's the feel. The look, fully integrated, the removable links many and fixed by screws, and then you have that single trigger, single fold clasp design that is quite old school. But so is the old school stylized Royal Oak logo, even more so when it's actually on the dial. There's a lot that's different about this dial, but let's talk about what's fairly standard for a Royal Oak. You can see the hairline expression of the bezel gasket between case and bezel. We have satin, polish, and then satination top to bottom. We have the hexagonal, and as you can see, still quite recessed white gold bezel bolts. They are hexagons and they are bolts because that's how the slots can be aligned all the way around. The crown is also a hex, but here it is a screw down, whereas on the jumbo it's a push down. So this is a 50 meter, but it's a real 50 meter. Taking a quick look, monoblock case, which means the mid case and the case back all one piece, not a three-piece case with a bezel, a case, and a case back. This was more expensive to manufacture. It's how the original jumbo was constructed, and until fairly recently, it's how the jumbo continued to be constructed. This cost AP money and took time, so AP took money and time out of the production process. When you buy a Royal Oak, especially an older one, you want the monoblock cases. And because it's a monoblock case, everything loads through the front, which is why you have this little notch in the case, so you can lower the dial, the stem assembly, and the movement into place. And again, screw down crown here. We have a stop seconds function, or hacking, as well as a quick set date. And then things get a little bit crazy, because instead of traditional hands here, we have broadsword hands. We have this dramatically counterweighted triangular index seconds hand, and all of that is white varnished instead of metal. We have radially arrayed Arabic numerals. This is often known as the military dial, and we have a dial that is matte black, not a hobnail or tapisserie. This is actually a buff, matte black dial with an unusual combination of features, right down to that stylized Royal Oak logo on the dial of the watch. Underneath the case back, we have what Audemars Piguet calls a 2225. Jaeger-LeCoultre calls it an 889, which is a JLC automatic winder with bidirectional winding action, 4 Hz beat rate, 36 pivot joules. Stop seconds, quick set date, 40 to 42 hour power reserve, and importantly, 5 position adjustment. Also important, at the time this watch was made, assuming this was the late 90s, JLC was 40% owned by Audemars Piguet, so it was an organic union of the two, a true high horology movement in a high horology watch. We'll do a quick loom shot so you can see the dial. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability details.